It is Red Rain right here on your Classic Metal Show with Chains. And this is Neeley along with Bob Nalbandian, filling in for the absent Chris Aiken.
What's up, Fred?
Well, Bob, we're hosting, the Classic Metal Show is hosting Summer Bash on August 25th, and that's going to feature our good friends Red Rain and a guy that has been around the business for as long as you have. And have seen, young bands come up through the ranks, or, have heard demos and have heard guys working out their material and trying to do something with their musical career. What is your thoughts on Red Rain?
I dig them. I was digging that song, and I heard other songs that you were playing on the Classic Metal Show. Great band, and I've heard the interviews with Sammy. Really good guy, great attitude, man. I'd love to see that. That band's, I don't know how old he is, but I presume he's around our age.
He is, yeah. The whole band is unfortunately our age. They're a little late to the game, but they're rocking it out.
It's so funny because I just always hear people like ragging. Oh, they're too late. They're too old. It's too late for them. What are they? Dude, they're having a good time and doing what they love to do. And if you're working a 9-to-5 job every day, you have a wife and kids, that's your getaway. If you could do it, God bless you, man. That's great. And they're doing it great. I know they had Chipster working their publicity, and they've been getting some traction. They've been doing shows with Tesla and other bands. I think they opened for Dokken, didn't they, not too long ago?
Yeah, they opened a couple shows for Dokken, opened up for Tesla on several dates, opening for Jackal, Quiet Riot. They're getting their paying their dues, as it were. Unfortunately, it is a pay to play situation for them. And they're willing to do it because, like you and like myself, we have the passion for what we do. And if it costs us something, well, that's the price you have to pay.
Well, if you got the money to do it, and you're, and you're enjoying it, and people are digging what you're doing, and obviously people are digging Red Rain, I think it's great. I don't like the fact that that bands these days have to support the pay to play promoters, but that's the way it is these days. And it's good to see they're out. If you're going to support these big bands, and you could if you could get people out to the shows and sell the tickets, it's worth it. And again, as we talked about with promoters, it's a whole weird different thing now than it was back in the day. I know you have done a lot of past CMS shows about promoters, and particularly with the festival shows and how they make money. And, I've been around that. I'm actually working with a Korean promoter with the Pentaport Festival in Korea. I'll sometimes bring bands over there. And I know how that works, and I know what they have to do. The overseas ones are so much, I would say with a band like Red Rain, I bet you if they went overseas, if they could get an overseas deal, that would be the ultimate, because that kind of music does well out there. If they could get on a Frontiers or something, just to have product out to promote, and maybe, that's what basically records are used for now, just a reason to promote and to go out on tour. Hey, we got a record. Let's, get us on this tour or that tour. So I think if they did that, they would do really well.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that, Bob. I mean, you've been in the business, as it were, since 1980. You mentioned that you, even as a teenager, you had a passion for it. So unfortunately, here we are, we're 30 years in. And, a lot of things have come and gone. Record labels have come and gone. The MTV days have come and gone. Commercial radio has come and gone. The new era of the internet has come on strong in the last, 15 to 18 years. What in your mind, or what are your thoughts on the rise of a quote unquote a popular band? I mean, it isn't like the old days where, if they got signed to a label, the label would, give them tour support, or, give them a recording contract, or, front load their contract with, upfront money and the opportunity to have big radio play and rotation on MTV and this and that. What chance does a band these days have to quote unquote making it? What does that mean for a band to make it these days?
Well, if you're talking about bands that we enjoy, our style of classic metal music, or even current, thrash metal, whatever kind of metal, it's a whole new game out there. And, most bands, I tell the bands, if you could do it on your own, do what Red Rain is doing, and maybe license it to overseas labels where they'll actually work the record a lot more in Europe than they do here in the States, because there's no avenues in the States. There's no radio say. I mean, look at, even for big bands. In fact, I just did an interview with Jeff Tate, which should be posted on hardradio.com, if not today, any day now. I did it a few days ago, and we were talking about this. Where could a band like a class, if Queensryche puts out a new record, or Jeff Tate's Operation Mindcrime puts out a new record, or even new records as by Van Halen, Scorpions, whatever, Purple, classic rock bands, Dokken, you're not going to get on the KLOS, which was the popular rock station that used to support that stuff. There's not the KNACs there back in the day. They don't have that anymore. Classic rock is just playing classic rock. There is no new rock radio for this kind of stuff. There's the pop shit, but nobody out there. There's no MTV. There's no radio stations. I mean, even a band like Van Halen, which was, Southern California's biggest rock band for the past 40 years. They put out that last record. Back in the day, if Van Halen put out a record, 80s, 90s, whatever, when rock radio was around, they would play the album weeks on advance, talk about the new record, interview the band, push it, talk about the show. Every time they do a show, they'll play a track from the new record. They don't do that anymore. If the band's doing a show, here's You Really Got Me by Van Halen. They'll play songs from 30 years ago. So it's a whole new thing. And it really is the corporate mentality of labels, radio stations just selling out. They're just playing it safe rather than doing the effort to promote new music. Even if it could be the best, Judas Priest put out a fucking great record. They won't play it, and I know you have talked about it on the show. It doesn't matter how good the record is, they're not going to play it. And you just have to live with that fact. So, bands have to find different opportunities. Internet radio, the classic metal show, places like that. Even Sirius doesn't play a lot of the newer stuff. They're getting all corporate. It's like, what avenues do the bands have? So really putting out a record has just become a way to promote your upcoming tour, or to say, hey, we're still viable. We're still, and to sell out the shows. Now, if bands are smart, and I assume Red Rain is doing this, and, you talk about how a band could make, how bands, I know you were recently talking about Tom Kiefer and Cinderella, how bands make money. I'll use an example of Y&T, who I saw recently. It's just Dave Menichetti, but he is Y&T. And look at all the other, I know people, it's one guy. All the other members of Y&T have passed away.
They have.
Bill Kennemore, Leonard Hayes, the original lineup, Joey Alves, they're all gone. Dave Menichetti, he's like a Dave Mustaine in a way. He was his vocalist, singer, main songwriter. He has absolutely every right to carry on with a Y&T name, and he still kicks ass like a motherfucker. Still sings great, plays awesome. He's got a great band behind him. I just did the Y&T documentary too. That should be coming out any day now, with your boy Eddie Trunk narrating.
All right.
Yeah, but my point is, what I'm trying to say is, I went and saw Y&T. They packed the place. I went and saw them most recently out in Santa Cruz, which is just south of San Jose, and big size place, packed. They had all sorts of Y&T merchandise. And they were able to buy their back catalog from A&M and Geffen or whatever. They had all the back catalog. They also had Medichetti solo records, Medichetti hats, Y&T T-shirts and hats. I mean, they had a slew of merchandise. People were buying this shit. That's where bands are making their money now. And, if you put out a record and you've got a name for yourself, whether it be a Dokken or Tom Kiefer or whatever, you make a, 10 grand a show. But if you could sell 50 CDs at every show, sell some T-shirts at 20, 30 bucks a pop, 30 bucks a pop, CDs even at 10 bucks a pop, that's money you make. You get that money. So you figure every show you're making an extra $1,000, to split up. So if you're playing 3-4 times a week, you could actually do pretty well as an independent band.
Yeah, but like a Y&T, you mentioned some name brand bands here, and that's all well and fine, but they've had the good fortune of making their name during the heyday when they were able to take advantage of that promotion that you were just talking about, be it, let's just use the rock stations in LA, KLOS or KNAC, when they were active, in the music business. But, how about bands today that won't ever get that opportunity?
Well, again, if you could get on a good tour, like Red Rain has done, I'm sure a lot of Tesla fans probably went and saw Red Rain open the show. They go, fuck, I like this band. I'm going to buy their CD. And people our age that would go see Tesla, they still buy CDs. A lot of them will. Or they'll buy a T-shirt or a hat. Even with a band like Red Rain, I've done that before. I went and saw Texas Hippie Coalition. Great band. There was some band, Mary something. They were kind of a stoner rock band, really fucking good. Great band. I bought their CD there, $10. And I don't even really listen to CDs anymore. I get so much shit coming in these days, but I want to support them. I thought they were good. Talk to the guys. I might have even bought a shirt or something. So I think, you get 20, 30 people a show buying, $40 worth of merchandise, do the math. You could survive. It is a different mentality. You're not going to get the label support. You're not going to get, you got to do what you got to do, and the bands that are smart are out there surviving, and you got to kind of see what works and what doesn't work, but to do that, you got to get out on the road. You got to do these shows. Sometimes it pays off to pay to get on a tour or to pay to play to get on certain bills. If you could sell enough merchandise, if you could sell enough advance tickets, you could make money. I know a lot of bands that do really well doing that kind of stuff. So it's, it's a lot more work. You're not getting that support, but it's definitely plausible. It's easy to, it's not easy to do, but a lot of bands are doing it and surviving on the road.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Bob, what are you working on, or what is coming up soon that's going to be released, on your video series? Not only are you working with the Inside Metal stuff, but you're branched off to do other things as well. When you're asked to do things like, the band or brand thing that is getting into final editing stages now, yes. That's for Cleopatra Records, right?
Correct.
So obviously your work with the Inside Metal series has carried over to where, let me ask you, are you being solicited from other people to say, hey, we have a documentary thing that we want to do. Can you do that for us?
Yeah, well, that's basically what happened with Cleopatra. I've known Brian Pereira, who's a great guy. Cleopatra, as you know, they do great work. That's a label that has been able to maintain. There's certain labels out there, and it's funny. It's because a lot of the major labels are hurting now, and they're doing these 360 deals, taking 100% of the band, whatever, to make it, and it's all hit and miss. But you got the independent labels, Cleopatra, Nuclear Blast, Metal Blade, that are still going strong because they play it smart. They're not, spending huge budgets, and they all deal with metal, and metal has a loyal following. Metal people will buy CDs. I just did an interview with Lizzie Borden, who's also on the new Shockwaves Hard Radio podcast, along with Jeff Tate, and he was saying, the Metal Blade's doing these. They do these package deals, all these different vinyl. You have to think of different stuff. Different colored vinyl, different merchandise ideas, packages that go with it. And the loyal fans, people our age that now have money, that collect stuff, rather than the younger kids that don't, it's all about streaming. They don't even want to own an MP3 anymore. If they could stream it off of YouTube or Spotify, what's the point of owning? What's the point of buying a song at 99 cents on iTunes when you can just stream it for free? That's their mentality. That's the way it is. But a lot of the older guys, they'll still do that. They'll buy it on vinyl. They'll buy it, on that. And anyway, going back to that, Cleopatra, a lot of these labels have survived on that. And Brian was a big fan of the Inside Metal stuff. And I had known Brian not really well, but I had met him on a few occasions, and he had said that, he loved the movies, and we had talked about doing something together. I had a friend, David Sterling, that had done some work with him that also had, reintroduced me to him. And so we met on a couple occasions, and we were at his office, and he said, yeah, I'd love to do a documentary with you. And we were just getting into the concept, and we're talking about how, I think we're talking about Kiss and all these other bands and Foreigner and how, the brand name and Rat we were talking about, because as you know, they've done a lot of stuff with Rat. And this is when Bobby Blotzer was going out with the Rat name. So it was, a couple years ago already. And he's saying, wow, we're talking about how branding is, how some of the fans don't even know. And we had this great conversation about it. He's like, man, this would be a great topic for a documentary. And I said, yes, absolutely. He goes, would you like to do it? And I said, absolutely. He goes, look, let's do it. I'll give you a budget. You could do it, And so I'm like, I'm down with it. So that's really how that started. And as you say, now we're in the finish. I was hoping to try to get you a rough edit, but I just got a text from my editor, Danny, now, and I'm hoping he's going to send it over any time now. But we're going to do, he's got the last, one final edit. We're going to go through everything, do all the bells and whistles, put it together, and then turn it in, and we should have this movie ready to go. I'm hoping maybe, I don't know, late summer, early fall, by the time it gets out. But, it's just basically what you call it. It's called Band vs. Brand, and it covers that topic of how nowadays branding has become more important than who's actually in the band. Most fans don't care or don't know or are misinformed. Or they really, as long as the band sounds good, they could see them live. Do they know who's actually in Foreigner? Do they know there's no original guys in Foreigner? Probably not, but they know that they like it. They know that they hear the tunes and they like the way it's played, and bands like that could play an arena or a casino and make a ton of money. And we get into that. We get into the hologram. That's, as you know, is a big thing. So it's kind of a controversial topic, but some people are for it, some people are against it, but it's just the way it is nowadays. And I know you and Chris have talked many times about how there's no new bands carrying on that torch. There's a lot of great new metal bands out there, but are there any bands that are arena level bands doing that? And really there's not, as far as hard rock and metal. So you got a lot of these older bands, and whether they have one or two original members or no original members, people are going to see that because they want to see a good show. And so when I do documentaries, I don't play sides. This is good or this is bad. I like to let the people decide. You know,
yeah, you're the Fox News of documentaries.
Exactly.
Fair and balanced. Fair and balanced.
You know, it's funny because I was just having someone watch a rough edit with me who was actually getting some stuff together for it. He was going to give me some editing tips and stuff and whatnot, or what to do, and he didn't know a whole lot about the metal business, and he was watching a few clips, and he's like, you know, I don't get it. Is it good or is it bad? This guy's saying it's good. This guy's saying it's bad. I don't get the and you know, that's people's mentality these days. Whether it be music, whether it be politics, they want to be told what's good and what's bad.
Yeah, I'll tell you what to think there, pal.
Exactly. I'm going to tell you, and that's how documentaries are. Whether you watch a political documentary or whatever, that's bad. Michael Moore says, "Oh, Republicans are evil," or "Oh, this is evil. This is bad." You know, they all have an agenda to point out. You know, you're watching this. Oh, McDonald's is evil. Oh, this is evil. That is evil. You know, this is good. We want you, and it's basically a way for them to promote whatever they want, whatever they like, whatever they. And my thing is, and I'm telling, and I see how that reflects not just on music, but on everyday society. Today's generation, they don't want to think for themselves. They don't want to see stuff and, you know, okay, let me decide. You know, let me have my own opinion on this. No, you don't have an opinion. You have to like this because we don't like this. So you can't like this. And I've noticed that's how a lot of documentaries kind of are, because I got that kind of thing even with the Inside Metal in a way. And it's like, don't anybody think for themselves anymore?
No, absolutely not.
Apparently not. But anyway, I just thought that was an interesting note. But that's how the Band vs. Brand came about. It's a really great, I think it's a great documentary. Not a lot of big names, of course, for a guy by the name of Wendell Neeley, who's I was lucky to get in this. But it's a lot of people in the industry, and we put it together rather quick. The filming of it, we did it at the NAMM show that you were at. Most of the interviews, and you know, looking in hindsight, I wish there was other people we could have got. But again, it is, you know, what I was trying to get to is when you're interviewing bands, a lot of people think, you know, I got Jack Russell. There's two different Great Whites out there, as you know. Would have been great to get, you know, Rat or Queensryche or some of these bands, but a lot of these bands that are involved in that, they don't want to really shake the boat, you know, or whatever, or say, you know, so it's a difficult topic to tackle sometimes with certain artists or certain publicists or label. Oh, we don't want, you know, him talking about that or this, you know, we don't want, is this going to be bad about them? Are you going to rag on them about that? You know, it's just like, you know, when I know you guys were trying to get Bobby Blotzer, and it's like, well, are you just going to get on and rag about me or this and that? No, you know, you're fair and balanced as well. You let the artist talk, and that's what we do. You talk about it, whether it's good or bad, or to use a quote from Wendell Neeley, there's a yin and there's a yang. Do you remember that? That'll be in the documentary, by the way.
Absolutely. Well, I think, Bob, probably the biggest name you could have gotten, but maybe you couldn't reach out to her, or maybe she was too busy, not available. But I think that Jennifer from 80s Hairband Whirl would have been a good addition to that documentary.
Well, we reached out to Tammy, and she was unavailable. She said, I'm not going to have anything to do with it.
Right.
We reached out to Kay and Abby.
Right.
Who I was really hoping to get, and I even offered them a fifth of Jack Daniels to loosen them up, you know, to get on the show. They declined. And then, of course, Jennifer wouldn't even take my calls. So.
Well, how about Natalie from Natalie's World? Did you reach out to her?
No, I did not. And, you know, maybe I should. I should go with a jar of peanut butter for her dog.
So good.
And I had to throw that in there.
Sure.
Yeah, people that won't understand it will have to listen to that past episode.
Right.
You know, it's funny. I was just on the CMS homepage today, and I saw that Ace versus the Mad Hatter is up on the CMS homepage. I was like, holy shit, I haven't heard that in a while. That is the one where the guy on Blog Talk Radio was saying to Ace, oh, wait a second, I got to introduce you to my wife. Hey, honey, I talked to Ace. Hi, Ace.
Yeah.
Is that it?
That's the one.
Love it. Love it.
Too funny. But so what else you got coming out soon here, Bob? I know that you just recently released one of the documentary series, the Rise of LA Thrash Metal.
Yeah, that is out. And again, I want to plug that part 2 just came out because people get so confused about it, and I could kind of see why in a sense. Each title has 2 volumes that we release separately, and we usually release them a couple months apart. So part 2 of the Rise of LA Thrash Metal is available. You could get it. You could order it on DVD on Amazon Prime, Best Buy. Most record stores or Barnes & Noble should carry it. If they don't, you could order it through them. Or if you want to get it streaming, it's streaming actually for free for Amazon Prime members. You could stream part 1 and part 2 of the Rise of LA Thrash Metal on Amazon Prime, iTunes. It just got on iTunes, and I think Google Play as well as other. Hopefully, I don't know if we'll begin on Access. It might be on Pluto TV, other avenues, but Google it. You should be able to check it out. It's a really great movie if you want to know the birth and the origination of the LA thrash metal scene. That will be coming out, and I mean that is out, and the one that's going to be coming out is the Bay Area San Francisco documentary Inside Metal, and that will be our 4th of the series, and that's also going to be a 2-part movie, and that's being edited now by Curtis Don Vito, who you know from SNU,
right,
is in the works on that. In fact, I got to get him some more stuff now to edit because he's kind of been waiting on it. So some more of the stuff, but he's currently editing that, and that's looking real good. And it's not just on the thrash metal scene of the Bay Area. We go back to YNT and Anvil Chorus and a lot of bands from the early '80s, Lost Rocket, Head On, Vane. Bands that aren't thrash, and of course we get heavily into the whole thrash scene as well. And as I said, my good friend John Stranansky helped me out immensely on that. He did he's going to do the narration. Ron Quintana, again helped out and is featured in it. A lot of the key Bay Area people. So that'll be coming out soon. That'll be a lot of fun. And then, right now I'm kind of keeping the plate open. We'll kind of see what goes from there.
Sure. Now, people have mentioned to us here on the Classic Metal Show a lot of the documentaries that you've been doing center in LA and the Bay Area and mostly the West Coast. And there's thriving music scenes that have popped up all over the country, be it Florida, or even the Cleveland, Ohio area, and, obviously the East Coast. Is there any interest in maybe, expanding and maybe covering some of those niche markets as well somewhere down the road?
Well, with the Inside Metal, it's a tough thing. It's not a big budget movie, so to travel and to do all that, I mean, all that stuff costs money, and DVDs, as you know, don't sell as well as they do, and streaming's not a huge profit. There's not a huge profit margin unless you get on cable. And we were fortunate enough to get on Access with our first movie. They bought LA Metal Scene Explodes. They haven't played. I think they kind of stopped doing that series, the reel to reel. I don't know if that's why they stopped, but I know they have repeated the Pioneers of LA Hard Rock and Metal. They have played it on occasion. Only part 1 though, which is so. I don't know what goes on there, but I know it's costs a lot of money to put this together, especially if I'm going to go. I grew up in LA, and I knew a lot of the Bay Area. When I was going to do the Bay Area, it's like, look, I got to keep it genuine. I got to get somebody that knows the Bay Area scene. John Stranansky grew up on it. He was like the king of the Bay Area. He and I think Ron Quintana. And so I got him and I got both of them involved. I mean, John involved heavily. And so I would have to do the same in other markets. Yeah, I was on Bill Peters' radio show. I said, yeah, I would, I think it would be great to do something on, I guess, Midwest or that metal scene. I don't know if it would be enough demand if people, would watch or not, or, New York. I would like to do one on the new wave of British heavy metal, particularly, but who knows? I'll see what happens. I mean, the thing about doing these inside metals, it's a lot of fucking work, man.
Yeah, I know, but
it's a lot of work for the price. I'm not making a living off doing this, so it's not an easy, it's not like something like, oh yeah, I'll do this. Let's do New York. Let's do Florida. Let's do, it's a tough thing, so. It's not a budget like so many. It's not like Sam Dunn. I was going to say, he gets, $1 million budgets to do movies on Rush and Alice Cooper and stuff like that. I think each episode of Metal Evolution was like over $100,000. So we don't have that kind of money. So it's not, something that we could say, oh yeah, let's do it on this. And people, keep telling me, dude, you should do a documentary on this scene. You should do why aren't you doing this? It's like, dude, why don't you do it? You know so much about it. You go ahead and do it.
Right.
I'll support you on it,
Right.
But, and again, it's something I want, I grew up in LA, as you know, the LA scene, the LA thrash metal scene, as I said, in the beginning of this interview, I was right there at the epicenter. So, it was an easy way of it was something I lived, and that's what I want. I want it to be as authentic as possible. I lived through the pioneers of LA hard rock and metal, even though I was too young to go to the Starwood in these clubs. I remember that. I remember seeing, the ads and listening on these local music shows, homegrown on KNAC, hearing bands like Snow and A La Carte and all that stuff. So it was, it was something I wanted to do, and it's kind of got to be that. I'm a purist. I want to do something that is really, I think, is really important, but at the same time, I got to make, I got to make enough. It's got to be worth it financially in a way,
sure,
to make it worthwhile. So that's where it becomes tough.
Right. Well, Kendall Peters in the chat room, she says, "Fuck Sam Dunn." So,
Kendall, Sam's a good guy. I love Sam.
Well, let's talk about Sam Dunn a little bit. Obviously, Sam also does documentaries, and I've seen his documentaries. In fact, I own a couple. And I'm going to be honest with you, Bob, and it's not because you're a friend and you're on the show, but the documentaries that you've produced in the metal scene are far superior than what Sam has done. Now,
stroke my cock even more.
Well, here's my question, and I wasn't aware of the financial aspect of his documentaries, but how is it that he gets such a budget? Who does he get this budget from, and why does he have that kind of wherewithal?
Well, from my understanding, Sam's got Banger Films, a production company that him and his partner have. And from what I understand, I'm getting all these texts. He has he owns all the camera stuff, and he will produce a lot of different stuff in Canada. That's where he makes a lot of his money. And he's been around doing documentaries. I think even before he started doing the metal stuff, he was like an anthropologist. He had a name in Canada, and Canada is a different scene. I think Canada is like Sweden and other things, where the country or the city will give people money, like grants, to do stuff. And I don't know if that was the case in Sam. I could be talking out of my ass, but I know other people in Canada, places like that were able to get grants and that kind of stuff. So I don't know if that's the case, but Sam proved himself, man. I mean, he did the Headbangers Journey. I'm sure that was a much lower budget, but he, put, I don't know if he put up the money on his own, but then, he ended up getting a deal with VH1. And, as you know, VH1 is no longer VH1 Classic. They're the ones that aired a lot of his movies, including the Metal Evolution series. Now you have access that don't do that nearly as much as VH1, and you have MTV Classic, which doesn't do shit. So you don't have that avenue anymore. And when we started Inside Metal, that was pretty much the case. That was kind of gone. So the guy I'm working with, a Warren Croyle, great guy. I love the guy. He's an interesting character. I've known him for a while. He got me involved with Joe Floyd. He does a lot of, and he does very well with a lot of conspiracy movies. Discovering Bigfoot, which you've probably seen all over Netflix, is one of the top Netflix things. That's one of his. Anything on Bigfoot, aliens, UFOs, that's what Warren does, and that's really his bread and butter. But he's an old school metal fan, so he said, he was game for doing this, So I forgot the question. What?
Well, why does he get the budget that you don't? And what's so special about what Sam Dunn does as opposed to what you do?
I know with his films, and let's take the Metal Evolution series. That was exclusively through VH1, and he had a Canadian company. So VH1 had the exclusives. They paid very well for that, but it was like they had the exclusives to air that. And if you remember, VH1 aired that 100 times. I mean, I was in maybe 5-10 seconds of the thrash metal film talking about Metallica. Literally, like, that was my 5 seconds of fame. And I still get emails. People, I still get emails now. People seeing it wherever. I don't know where they're seeing it, if it's on YouTube or what. But back in the day, I used to get emails all the time. Oh, dude, I just saw you on VH1. They would repeat it like every other day or something. The Metal Evolution. So it was like reruns and this and that. So I know they paid well for that. VH1 does. I don't know the budgets or any of that kind of stuff, but Sam is great. He's done a lot of hard work. He travels. He knows the main people to get, and he was one of the first to do this kind of thing. So mine, we knew it was going to be a low budget thing, and we were cool with that. We wanted to get that, and Joe Floyd, who did the from Warrior, the lead guitarist, founder of the great LA band Warrior. He's my producer, and he did the early filming. We tried to get that kind of underground guerrilla kind of 70s vibe in the filming and stuff. And that was, we knew we didn't have much of a budget. We wanted to get back to those old, he was a big fan of Jimi Hendrix and the Stones, all those old documentaries back then. And we kind of wanted to get that especially the first one we did, The Rise of LA Thrash Metal, the Pioneers of LA Hard Rock and Metal, was like 75 to 81. So we wanted to get a little bit of that 70s vibe going. And that kind of filtered through the other movies. So, for what it is, I think it's great. Budget really is not, as long as I always think it's about the content. If you have good content and it's good, sure, maybe some of the camera work ain't that great. The audio isn't that great here and there. It's not as good as some of the others you might see on VH1 or whatever, but it suits its purpose and it serves. And like you said, you've obviously enjoyed it. I know tons of your listeners, I've got tons of emails about it. They've enjoyed it, and it's an educational film. It suits its purpose of what we wanted to do, and it's not about getting the best camera angles and the best budget. It's about the content, and that's what it was for me. Other people that might have those bigger budgets, Great for them. Hopefully in the future, I'll be able to work on bigger budgets like that. We'll see. But, I have to pay my dues still. This is only the third movie that I put out. So.
Right. Absolutely. Well, Bob, we're quickly closing in on the end of the second hour already.
Holy shit, dude.
It's flying by.
I'm going to have to refill my wine glass and maybe cut up a few more lines of Coke for this next segment.
But seems like the fans in the chat room are enjoying it. And,
in the chat room, I was trying to get in. Every time I try to sign in through Facebook or Twitter, it says, it seems like you were previously logged in. It's chatandkill.com, right?
Yeah, chatandkill.com.
Yeah, I tried it through Facebook, through Twitter. I'll try it through another source. Let me get back. During the break, I'll try to get back in the chat room. Although I probably shouldn't because I know what the disgusting shit that goes on in that chat room. I don't know if I want to be affected by that.
Right. Well, speaking of the chat room, Bob, what is your thoughts on the active live chat room during the 6-hour extravaganza that is the Classic Metal Show?
I love it. I wish I could get on more of the live shows. And as I was telling Chris in the email, that's how, we talked about getting on, because I know you originally were going to skip this show, apparently, because Chris was out. And I told him, dude, I'm going to be around next week, and I hear you're not doing a show. I was planning on getting in the chat room the full 6 hours and, being involved and whatever. And that's when he said, dude, do the show with Neeley. I'm not going to be able to do it. But usually I can't, I got shit going on or whatever Saturday, so I'll get in the chat room for an hour. I'll keep it going, but I won't watch it all the time. But usually every time I watch something on it, I'll see something from Phil Ooze or one of these guys. It's like, what the fuck is this shit? What is that? And it's like, all right, fuck this. No, it's fun. I love the interaction your fans have, dude. I don't need to stroke your balls too. I love your show. I think you've got the best. I think the chemistry you and Chris have together, and what you do with the chat room, and how you evolved into the Judge Aiken and all the different stuff that just comes naturally. I think it's better than any other radio show I've heard with talk radio, and that's why I'm a fan.
Well, we appreciate that, Bob, and we've made it clear that probably one of the biggest reasons we can do that is because obviously we're not a sponsored show. We don't have to apologize for what we say. We don't have to appease the higher ups or anything like that. So what you get is exactly what we think or what we want to talk about without holding back. And that's usually what limits any kind of a media outlet. Just being who you are and being able to say what you want and give your actual thoughts on things instead of, I'm going to censor my words, or I'm afraid I might offend somebody, or my sponsors might drop me if I dare say this or that. Well, we don't have any of that. And I've had the good fortune of, making a very good living to where I could support the equipment and the show and the streaming and the chat room. And, Chris obviously takes his time out of his week to do interviews and be a part of the show every week. So the fans make it worth doing it every week. And, we're coming up on our 23rd year already to do this, which I can't believe. But, the fans keep us going, and having that chat room in there, and as quick as they are, we'll be in a topic no more than 2 minutes, and somebody's already got
me away. Yeah, I see shit up there. It's like, do they have this shit on their drives already, or do they actually go online and find this shit? I mean, you could talk about the most fucking bizarre shit,
and they'll find something on it.
What's that?
And they'll find something on it.
Yeah, within seconds. It's like, holy fuck. Is it pre-planned?
Not in the least. Yeah. So anyway, I'm glad you enjoy the show, and I'm glad you enjoy the chat room. And again, if it wasn't for the fans and the interaction and the amount of downloads we do every week is just staggering.
Absolutely, dude. I'm so happy for you guys, and I hope it continues. And I just hope that there's no, and it's going to happen sooner or later with the way fucking society's going with this PC fucking bullshit. Sooner or later, they're going to take control of the internet, government control or whatever. It's going to start censoring shit. I hate to say, but it'll probably happen one of these days.
It's happening on you. It's happening on YouTube already.
Sure, I'm sure you guys get a lot of shit. But the fact is, you're still able to do your show, and you still got plenty of other carriers. You're still on YouTube, right?
Well, it's not so much with us, but other people who have offered content on YouTube that would be in the conservative vein, like a Mark Dice. I don't know if you've ever seen any of his videos, but his stuff gets censored heavily and buried, in there. It doesn't even come up on your feed anymore unless you specifically are looking for it, because they just want to bury that stuff because, we don't agree with that political viewpoint or that social viewpoint, so we're just going to try to throttle him back or that back and try to depopularize whatever it is that they do.
Well, that's the thing that's bullshit. And I don't give a fuck what you are politically, conservative, liberal, whatever. But to do that, and it always comes down to, look, the liberals own the media. Well, we all know that, whether it be YouTube, Facebook, social media, computer, it's all liberal organizations. They're going to control what they want to do, So it's time that there's either other outlets to do it, or but as you say, they're supposed to be all about no censorship and freedom of speech, only if they agree with it.
Right.
If they don't agree with it, censor it. Oh, that's hate. That's it. Fuck you. It's one or the other. And that's it. If you're gonna and especially stuff that isn't. I mean, I understand if you're doing hate speech. I mean, I know you say, we have no lines, but there are lines. If you're going to go out and say, kill this guy, or I think everybody should, yes, that shit should be censored. But if somebody's given their opinions about certain things or whatever that has absolutely no connotations of violence or harm or anything, just given their views, whether it be conservative, whether it be liberal, whether it be stupid, whether it be some kind of conspiracy theory or whatever, hey, it's their fucking opinion. They're doing their show. You can't say, I'm going to censor that, but I'm not going to censor this. That's fucking bullshit. And, we could get all into this if you want on the next.
Sure.
It's like I said, dude, whatever you want to do, that's what I love about the show. It just flows. There's no preparation. Whatever. I'm game. But, yeah, it disgusts me, too.
Right. All right. Well, we'll get into that next. So, looking at your list of music that you sent over, you got anything else now you want us to experience?
How about some Silver Mountain, Jonas Hansen?
Okay.
That was I was managing Jonas Hansen in the 90s. For those underground people like Bill Peters out there, maybe your boy Nostradamus or Nostrademon or whatever the fuck he calls himself. He might, I know they've talked about some of the early new wave of British heavy metal and European bands. This band was one of the original Swedish metal bands, 79, 1980, Silver Mountain, Jonas Hansen. You may know Anders and Jens Johansson. It was their first band before they went on to join Yngwie Malmsteen. Jonas Hansen was the original, one of the original guitar gods out of Sweden. And he had a fucking great band, like a Deep Purple style band. They put out demos in 79, 80, did an album, Shaking Brains, on Metal Blade, then released a couple more in Europe. And they got back together. I was managing Jonas. Well, I believe I gave you some of his solo stuff as well. But he regrouped Silver Mountain, I guess early 2000s it was, with Anders and Jens and Per Stedin, the original band. And you got Prophet of Doom. Is that what I sent you?
Yep, Prophet of Doom.
There you go, Silver Mountain.
All right, well, here it is. This is some Silver Mountain exclusively here
on your classic metal show.